Okay. Um, as these perps live this fantasy, see, this is a coworker perp. Um, it's crazy how people are trying to block reality, and I'm not. I think this is why I'm going to be very much tortured because you have these people who wanted to partake in this program that does so much things to people, that can do all these crazy things to human beings because they're using these 21st century weapons that can alter the mind, alter the body remotely, right? And obviously there's a purpose behind it. They're not here protect like the way they want us to think this what this is about is comical. You see this purpose over there, right? She says something you molest. I'm like, oh, thank you for saying that because you know what you do in this program. These people have done this nasty manipulation to the brain where they force you to have this reaction toward children. They have these tactics of forcing you to have sexual stimulation toward children, and they bring. Oh, for me, what they like to say is like, "Oh, map." They have the same systematic tactics. So what I'm saying is going to be said by others, and I brought that over and over. They use the mind as a weapon. They are altering your mind in a way that's degrading, right? Then they have perps who try to gaslight you into accepting this. Now, the humiliating reality of what they're part of has been very, very well vocalized. This perp know that first of all, the governmental entities that run this program have had this issue with pedophilia for a long time. I love to bring that up. She's here trying to be like, now I was like, actually, you work for child molesters. Sorry, the entities that are running this program protecting children have a lot of problem with child molesters or pedophiles. There's a bill that literally was created because there was so much child porn being trafficked and trafficked and access using DoD network is ridiculous. That they had to create a bill to limit that. What's happening to my body is because these governmental entities have been working on this technology for decades. With me, they're like, no, wait, this is a channel of this fierce femme fatale, and they come up with this like fucking fantasy of reality that is comical, and because it's laughable for me, they want to torture me to the point where they've made themselves forget reality. Can you imagine if you wanted to make somebody subscribe to this fantasy that you put together that is so childlike, even to even create this fantasy? You would torture that person out of just spite, out of rage that you are being exposed for really being part of this program that torture babies sexually too. You're gonna hear that. The tactics they force us to think are tactics they've done to others. For me, it's like, no, but what you did as a kid. I'm like, oh, please, you are here torturing babies. You're going to hear that. They try to exaggerate what it is as a child. That's why they talk about how you molested. Shut up. We know who's out here torturing children, harming the private part of kids. This is something I'm going to bring up. You know that. You think I'm going to let this trash like that go into La La Land? You know the satisfaction of me being tortured is what they live off now. As if that's going to be like, that was going to, it's not going to happen. As if like that's not like the obvious reason of who put me in this program. Sorry, as if that is not something that is the damn deal regardless. You just wanted to do this thing and then leave that fantasy where you're some adventure. No, I'm so thankful that I got the chance to say on TI Day 2020 to say this is killing, torturing, impacting men, women, and children. You're involved in a program that harms kids' genitals. I don't give a shit if these people have done it once, twice, or whatever. You're involved in that. So you think I'm going to... You are involved in a program that do these horrible things to babies. You're involved in a program that molests children. Not even just molesting. Harming their private parts. Like burning genitals and things like that. Children. Babies. I mean, you're going to hear the 3-year-old here grabbing his genitals because he's harmed. This technology can do things to you remotely. They like to call the target individual the child molester. Look who's talking. This fucking trash involved in this program. And to the way they manipulate your brain, it's crazy. But the funnest part, the best part is when it's like, oh, you are a pedo. It's like, really? I'm your top tier pedo. Target individual. For me, I just want to say this. Before I get tortured to the point of no return, I just want to say thank you, God. Because the way these perps wanting to live this escapism of a reality to enjoy this program that can do these horrible things to you, but with this very sophisticated technology, is just magical. I've never seen somebody being the facade being so destroyed in all the fucking ways. It's crazy. And that's why I'm so thankful. I'm sorry if I'm cursing, but it's the emotions and the passion that I have right now. When I see people like that, and they have this attitude and condescending, I'm like, oh my gosh, I know you're out here burning vaginas, okay? Okay, I know what this program does. This one is you're going to hear a woman talk about how her vagina was cut internally and she stopped bleeding because this technology can do literally surgery remotely. And you won't be all sitting there with this confidence as if like it's this is not this program led by this governmental entities that have been doing that since the fucking 60s. For me, putting this in their faces is the way you're gonna get. They want it really. They want you to sit there and be like, "Oh yeah, no, you are a pedo. No, you actually work for pedos. You are trying to turn me into your pedos. You fucking low life." The validation that we have is magical, but it's validation that's just I love to bring up a million times if I need to. And so, for me, it's been almost like a mixture of like horribleness, but comicalness at the same time. These people have no shame. So some of the things to feel validated is they make me have the same stimulation, well, not the same stimulation, but stimulation of some sort, intensified stimulation toward adult women. And it's like you can feel like that. So first of all, you do that to babies. So if you're doing that to somebody who naturally, organically, like a woman, I could imagine her in a sexual way. Like they have no shame. Like when I mean these perps have no shame, in the sense of shame of like, don't you have shame to sound idiotic? And they don't. And they're like, no, we see, wait, that's proof we mapped out. This is how stupid it gets, huh? They forced me to have this extreme reaction or stimulation or thought process toward a woman who's a grown woman, for example, a coworker. I know it's falsified, but I'm like, hey, I've had sexual perception toward women. I had sexual stimulation toward women. I know who I am. So yes, of course, this is falsified, but this is not far from reality. This is I've looked at women. I've experienced this reaction toward women. But even though this is falsified, but they do these things to women. It's like, you see, we just mapped that as proof that we're just saying, like, it's so stupid. It's like saying, hey, you see, the sky is blue, so you see, we're not lying to you. It's crazy. And I'm like, these people have no shame. Like, you feel like, don't you feel stupid when you have, because these perps are supposed to gaslight you into accepting this thing, and there's nothing too low for them. There's nothing too low. First of all, even when they have, I can tell this false reaction. So they make me have this false reaction toward women. That's our women, our people, co-workers. But have I had perception toward women in a sexual? Of course. But this is falsified. Now, can I naturally see this person? She's not a woman. I'm straight. Yes. But it's falsified, and I can tell that. Now they do that to the babies. It's like, no, but you see, we've showed that you had this woman. You had this reaction to this woman, so that's proof. It's like, what? Target individual, for me, is important for me to before I die, before I get to the point where I can express myself, to put these things in perspective and just show how embarrassing life can be for these perps who try to gaslight you into accepting this thing. They have no shame. They make me have like sexual thoughts of women. It's like I've never had sexual thoughts toward women, of course, but I know those are falsified. This is not the extreme that you could do. The extreme is when you force me to have this nasty reaction toward children that you know they utilize that tactics to break people down, and then try to make you accept of it. They do this gaslighting tactics that is just so illogical that it's almost comical. But these people have to stay in character to gaslight you. I was like, you see how dumb you have to make yourself be? I know these people are not this retarded. Excuse my language. I know they're not this illogical. I know. But I know that to gaslight an individual, gaslighting is to make somebody acceptive of a false reality. Right? You dumb yourself down for the purpose of targeting the target individual being dumbed down too. They want you to get to the level of how low they have to become when it comes to illogicalness. And especially when people are normally some very logical individual, they try to use that as a way to accept this illogical logic. And you find yourself surrounded by people who, in any other circumstances, can be the most logical people, but in this circumstance, to break you down, to make you accept of this manipulation, would become mentally ill. They become clowns, to be honest. But these clowns, I'm not gonna let them live the fantasy. They know what they're involved in. The program they're involved in molest, torture, and do horrible things to babies, to children. These tactics of forcing a human, they try to make me say something as an adult person to have this reaction toward children as a way to break you down is disgusting. So you can imagine what they can do to children. Yes, I've understood what this is about. This weapon system is going to be utilized to torment, to attack the mind and the body and everything else. When it comes to the mind, it's this reaction, the stimulation, this thought process that just degrading. And then truly utilize this fucking retard that you see here, which I call them that. I'm sorry for the language. They're not. They're very mentally stable, or at least most of them. But become children mentally for you to be accepting of this manipulation. I understand. I'm not any smarter than them. They just decide to be involved in this program. Now they compromise in these ways, and they want to gaslight me to the point of accepting this. It's not working out. That part is not going to happen. Now what's going to happen is I'm going to be tortured in worse ways because I keep putting that in their faces. These people want to present themselves and make themselves appear like they these good people that just no. This evil they can do to us, target individual, can be evil where they can do it in their pajamas. So this technology, this 21st century technology, facilitate evilness, facilitate illogicalness for the purpose of breaking the target individual. And they really want to dumb you down. They really, at this point, they still want, no, it's our channel, it's our evilness. No, you can do none of this evil unless you're involved in this evil program that torture even babies. It's just opportunist low life, and I'm glad that I live a life never having to do that. Thank you. Now I'm gonna suffer. I understand that, but this suffering is not free. This is this dignity, my suffering, and this slow life did these horrible things very easily. You'll see how it comes back to them. Target individual. These people work for child molesters in the sense that the entities that work for this that run this program are filled with pedophiles. Now, I'm not saying everybody at the DoD is a pedophile or a child molester, but they have a problem there that they need to keep. That's really obvious. There's a trend there. This is not. This is more. It's bigger than what people like. This is a big deal. It's a big deal. If this is just a snippet of what's going on there, where they have to create a bill because so many employees at the DoD are downloading child porn using DoD network. Imagine what we're not saying. This is real. There's a bill called End National Defense Network Abuse Act because they were downloading so much child porn using DoD network. Imagine what is not being seen. This is the computers given to them by the DoD and the DoD network. There is a problem with pedophilia. There is an ongoing problem with pedophilia. This bill was created in 2019, right before COVID. To see this perp living this fantasy where knowing this program for the purpose of developing the weapon, torture children sexually, manipulate the brain because this tactic is used to attack the mind. So they attack the mind by tormenting thought process, reaction, and stimulation. Then they send these perps contracted to make you acceptive of this manipulation. They gaslight you into accepting this. They have no shame. And they be like, you're mad, and they like even use a tonality that's childish. Like, oh my gosh, because you say it like that now. They have no shame. I don't know how to find the strength. Full on tonality created. You're mad, dad. I'm like, wow. For me, I'm just gonna put that in their face, and this is why I prep myself. Like they say, I know that it's gonna be horrible. But this thing was put in their face in ways that they couldn't escape it from. So target individual, listen to this trash. What they do to children, what they do to women, what they've renowned to be doing in regard to thought manipulations. What this is about, the horrible things that came from this, and unfortunately this DoD issues that are very big deal, big issues, to the point where a bill was created. I will never let this slow life live this fantasy. I know I'm slowly fading away. I feel my body being destroyed by this 21st century weapon that can attack the body and the mind, utilizing energy weapons. So, let those be my last words or not, but I will say as long as I can the things that needs to be said.
Many of their torture methods are cyclical in severity. Right after I saw this child being suffocated, then I began to experience very extreme suffocation all day, every day, for about 2 months straight, and that's also when they made it worse when I eat. Then I also work with a 4-year-old little girl with Down syndrome, as well as her 5-year-old sister who also has Down syndrome. I observed both of these girls suddenly grabbing their genitals in pain and verbalizing, ow. I observed this at least on 1 or 2 occasions for each of them during their separate sessions. During one session, I observed one of my 3-year-old clients suddenly grab his crotch and lean forward in his chair. And then he made a frightening grimace of severe pain. I asked him what was wrong and if he needed to use the restroom, but he said no to having to use the restroom and was not able to verbalize anything more due to his language delay. He looked puzzled and bewildered. Even though I had stated that it was time to do more work right before this incident, I quickly just let him play another game, and he quickly returned to his joyful, happy self again.
So this is just a testimonial of a woman talking about how these young kids, young children, were sexually tortured. We hear how these molesting type of tortures are applied on these kids, these babies. And with me, it's funny when they say like 4 years old, I'm supposed to think of me as a child and whatever dumb thing I did to myself. I'm not trying to minimize what I did as a kid, but it will never be what they wish, right? They wish that when I was a kid, I molested a child. When in reality, what I did to myself as a kid in middle school is something I did to myself. While they involve in a program where they do this molesting type of torture, where they harm the private part of children with this technology that can make you feel like something is happening to you, and they do that to children. Now, these perps that you see there, even if they per se didn't partake in the torture of those children, they involve in a program that does that to children. For them to be able to do what they do to me, they have to be involved in that. So when I hear them saying you molest, I'm like, are you talking about what, doing things to children? Because that's what these people do. You know, some of the things they try to do is because they try to vilify you by any means, right? When I was in high school and early college, I used to go to this nightclub. It was a nightclub where you had to be to get in. It was like 17. To drink, you had to be 21. I started going to that club when I was 18 years old, and I think 18 to 22, that's the place I used to go. And this is about the same age. The people going to that club, majority were within this age, right? We all used to go there, me and my friends, and they're like, no, but when we went there around 18 and 22, you grab this person's butt and this and that. I was like, listen, I did, what I did, you know, they try to scramble my brain as I'm trying to speak. As a 18 and 22-year-old, I did some dumb things, right? But you gotta understand, these people do things that's so horrible. So them try to, and but by the way, because it's between the age group of 18 and 22, it's like, oh, but how old was this person you did that to? It's like, oh, so you just gonna be the wish, the age you wish to be. But I was around people within my same age range, and me as a 18-year-old to 22-year-old, I was around the same age, and I was not too old for going to that place. So that's about the same age people who go. And the truth is, I didn't even actually really like going there, but there's not that many options. So me and my friends from end of high school and beginning of college used to go there. So they try to use that as like, now you see there. It's like, oh, please. You just heard what they do to children, and they're talking about me between 18 and 22 going to a nightclub with people around the same age and try to say, no, you see there, you grab the butt. Listen, I've done a lot of things in my life that's, well, just stupid. And as an 18 and 22-year-old at a nightclub, the stupid things I've done is just that. Now, listen, I'm not going to try to put things in, I'm not going to minimize me. But I will never let people who do what you're going to hear try to vilify me. First of all, let me just give you a sample. This is the nightclub I used to go when I'm 18, 22, with people around my age. Listen to this. Uh, this is the environment I was in as an 18 and 22-year-old going out with people around the same age as me. The reason why I want to make sure that I put that in their faces is because you're going to hear then what they do. This is the nightclub I used to go out when I was 18 to 22 years old. I don't know if you can capture the noise campaign. These people really want me to think that this environment was an environment I should have not been. The people there were all about the same age. You hear the noise campaign slamming the door, dropping things, and all that. It's so pathetic. You see the pictures? You see that? It's the age I used to be when I used to go there. There's somebody who came, dropped the box, and tried to block theatrical. Now, listen to what these people do to women, private parts. You just already heard a 4-year old being tortured sexually. Now listen to what they do to these women and how they torture women and how they harm the sexual parts.
So, yesterday I went to the beach and drank a couple of beers and just sat down there after laying in bed and sobbing for 2 hours because the private parts of my body were being burned and my breasts are moved. And just the trauma from it. It's not being able to cope with the pain and the emotional trauma that comes from someone harming me. Hey, I just woke up after a pretty rough night. The same thing happened last night as the night before, which was whenever I was trying to go to sleep, the private parts of my body began being burned again, and it felt like someone pushing out something inside of my body. So, yeah, that's what I am up against today. But the abuse last night was pretty extreme and weird. My mouth feels just like my teeth are pressed forward, and I don't know. It's a lot of strange things. I've been doing some research, I guess what it's called, organized stalking. I'm called a targeted individual. But the abuse last night was pretty extreme. I can feel it's going to be the same again today. Already on the harming of the private parts of my body. Don't really know what to do. I tried to go to a doctor to get some kind of pain medicine because what actually happens to me what is happening to me is my actual physical body is being burned. So it causes me to go into shock, and it's excruciatingly painful. And I have my limitations on the duration and length of pain that I can handle. So it was a couple of weeks ago, I asked him what he was doing there, and he said that I needed to stay in my room. And I asked why, and he said that essentially they wanted to keep an eye on me for a while. And I was like, okay, for how long? And he was like, well, we haven't decided that yet. And I was like, all right, well, I'm leaving. But it definitely felt like if I talk about what's happening to me, that I'm being retaliated against. And I know the logical mind is like, well, everyone can't be involved. But it seems that, I don't know, if the government has the right to watch and the proper paperwork, just walk right in and take over a hospital. And it seems that that is a very real reality in a lot of capacities of the things that I've faced. So today, just kind of just feeling some pretty general fear about my own safety, because the government's burning the private parts of my body. Sometimes it feels like a laser, or like pins and needles, like a tattoo. Sometimes it feels like a sunburn. Yesterday, my breasts radically changed. All of that today, this morning, not even noon yet here, and already I'm experiencing the pain and the harm to my body, to the private parts of my body. It's just hard to feel hopeful, like just wake up and get out of bed and not know like what a day will bring, and just trying to maintain some level of hope, and just in the midst of such heinous abuse, just it's terrifying, it's terrorizing. Today I'm actually dealing with something that's like it's different than the burning the private parts of my body. It feels like somebody is trying to literally like cut the inside of my body, of my vagina, and I'm bleeding, and it's like bright red blood, and it's extremely painful. And I've talked to 2 people about it today. I've kind of talked to a couple of other people about it a little bit. Yeah, just a day-to-day struggle to have hope and be well. But yesterday was definitely, and a couple other days this week, really, really challenging to have that. It seems like I'm either having like debilitating headaches and neck pain to like emergency room level, like can't talk level, or the harm's happening to my body, to my private areas. And yesterday it was more like, almost like there was something topically put on my skin, body to my private areas. And yesterday it was more like, almost like there was something verted, involving many combinations of sensory and motor manipulation of my mind and body, and of the people around me. This includes many different types of zaps to varying degrees to the genitals, butt, anus, and the entire pelvic area. This also includes many kinds of movements, such as the rocking, swaying, jolting, vibrating, and shaking of my entire body or various body parts, specifically in a sexual way. The severe vibration is a highly noxious stimuli and is very intolerable. They sometimes do pulses or throbbing sensations on the genitals too, etc. There are also body movements such as rocking my pelvic area back and forth, repeated rubbing sensations, the sensation of something going up my crotch and in and out, etc. They also often force vaginal discharges and zap my genitals at the same time. These sexual assaults are present throughout the day, and anytime I am awakened at night, every night. They range from mild to extreme, but usually involve daily and nightly continuous assaults for the past 3 years now. When severe, the zaps to the genitals feel as though someone is electrocuting my genitals repeatedly.
So imagine this is what these trash are part of. The reality of what they do to women, to children, and I can bring more testimonials. It's gonna be a lot of sexual torture of also. Um, it's nasty. And for me, what's happening is they want to paint this facade. Throughout this testimony of this woman, you hear this childlike individual. They try to deflect, right? So this is a program led by these governmental entities, and they contract a bunch of people around to partake, or people who actually move around you to also, they as they are contracted to do. And you could hear this perp talking this childish ways, try to deflect from the fact that this is the horrible things they do to women and children. So they're in a program where they do this molesting type of torture, sexual torture, to not even just adults, but even children. And you have this shit who wants me to let them live their fantasy. These sexual assaults, this sexual torture, these molesting tortures are the reality of things. For me, you heard the music. That was where I used to go when I was 18, 20. You see that age over there? Yes. There's a peak time of me going there. Well, you just heard what these people do to women and children. Now, to even add more to this, obviously, I know what this program is about. This is about the development of this technology and this program, this weapon system, truly control human being in so many fashion. And not only control, but they predict what they're even going to control. So you see this individual, she's the confidence they get when they involve in this program, because children can do the same thing these people do and partake in this. Even children feel like they're little gods when they're just nothing trash. This, for example, I'm going to give you a random example. My life is so controlled and manipulated that everything has been already set in a certain way, right? Life as a target individual is no longer happening organically. Everything is orchestrated. She says something about something I was going to get, and I was like, I knew that something was going to happen. What I'm trying to say is, they orchestrate your life as a target individual. Everything is controlled. It's about the control of the manipulation and the control and the ability to control human being using this very sophisticated technology that really literally you don't live in life is no longer life anymore as a target individual. You are manipulated to the nth degree, and everything around you, and your body is being destroyed, your mind is being destroyed, and you're not experiencing anything organically. So you have this perp, and the reason why they love to be involved in this, regardless of what you just heard, right? You just heard these atrocities. They're just like a little bit of it. You heard how atrocities, the type of atrocities these women go through. And why would somebody be involved in this? It's because this technology is that sophisticated that they want to be involved in something that can do these things. It empowers them. These people, who knows what can happen to them? They don't know themselves. They just do their best, live their life, and expect the best, or expect, to live a good. They don't know what's going to happen. But you now involved in a program that do all these crazy manipulations and can alter human being in so many ways, mentally and physically. This person is just an opportunist. And I truly know why they're involved in this. And I truly know why they dumb themselves down and deflect when you hear this reality of what they're part of. It's because my life is so controlled that she can tell me what I'm going to experience before I know what I'm going to experience. This perp can tell me what something's going to happen around me when she doesn't know what's going to happen at the same time. The same time, she can tell me what I'm going to experience. She can't. She can't say anything about what's going to happen to her. So she found this empowerment and enjoy that, and then become dumb enough, conveniently enough, to block out the fact that sexual torture kids in this program and women. And they start creating this fantasy now where this femme fatale, where nah, where it's like, of course you're not. I know you're not, because this is what they are. This is what they're part of, and what this program is about. Listen to this.
Being controlled by government-sanctioned experiments. Is Cheryl Welch telling the truth, or are her claims absurd? Just another conspiracy theory that's impossible to prove. Maybe. But not if you listen to Nick Begich.
I think there's some good evidence that Cheryl Welch and many of the other people I've spoken with have been victimized by this electromagnetic mind control experiments. The weapons of this century aren't bombs and bullets and ordnance, but electromagnetic energy targeting the human being, which is the greatest revolution in military affairs since gunpowder.
Begich is an expert in government mind control. He is convinced the Pentagon has mastered a technology once thought to be science fiction. The ability to broadcast information directly into the human brain.
Our government began spending a lot of time looking at how to modify behavior of human beings. Going back to the Korean War, in fact, in a publication, Low Intensity Conflict in Modern Technology, they have a chapter on electromagnetic weapon systems and being able to not just debilitate someone, but actually even to stimulate certain activities within the brain.
But how?
HARP is the High Frequency Active Auroral Research Project, which started as a joint effort of the Air Force and Navy. This is a very large array or field of antennas based in Alaska, radio frequency antennas.
HARP antennas transmit powerful radio signals into the upper atmosphere to study the effects on wireless communications. But Begich says HARP can also be used for more sinister ends.
HARP has announced several other programs and campaigns, and there's two areas that I got very concerned about. One was weather modification applications. The other was the effect on human beings. If you can modulate a signal that the brain locks onto, recognizes, and begins to mirror or follow the frequency following response. The brain rhythms change, then it creates a chemical cascade within the brain, and the emotions change. Now the resolution gets finer and finer and finer. And it used to just to be about triggering emotions. You could change people's brain chemistry pretty readily, change their emotional state pretty easily. But when you get down to the idea of thoughts and being able to manipulate those, that requires a different kind of sophistication.
Can we hear sounds?
Dr. John Hall. I'm a medical doctor from Texas. As I understand the memorandum from the president, it's for you to determine if current legislation is adequate in protecting individuals and if there's any ongoing experimentation. In reviewing the common rule, it's very obvious that there's a lot of loopholes to informed consent. All of the horrific experiments you've mentioned, Willowbrook, MK Ultra, radiation experiments, mostly were done without informed consent. They were funded by the DoD and intelligence agencies, where I'm not even so sure you would know if there's an IRB, much less if an IRB is looking at informed consent. As a physician, relative to some of what you're hearing today, in the community, we are seeing an alarming rate of complaints of use of electromagnetic weapons, microwave auditory effects, silent sound spectrum, EEG cloning, which has taken the lab out of the laboratory and into the home. Most of these, from the research that we reviewed, can be done remotely. It seems to be more weapons research than medical research. I've personally corresponded with upwards of 1,500 victims, all complaining of identical complaints from every state in the nation of being exposed to electromagnetic radiation, non-ionizing radiation for the use of cognitive control or behavior control. I've submitted a paper to you, and there's another paper submitted to each member from another physician in Kansas City, alluding to the same thing.
Thank you.
In 1965, DARPA launched Project Pandora, which studied the possibility of using microwave radiation to control human behavior. The project reportedly ended in 1969, but DARPA's investigation of how machines can affect and possibly control. In 1965, DARPA launched Project Pandora, which studied the possibility of using microwave radiation to control human behavior. The project reportedly ended in 1969, but DARPA's investigation of how machines can affect and possibly control the brain continues to this day. Human mind can be altered. In 1965, DARPA launched Project Pandora, which studied the possibility of using microwave radiation to control human behavior.
Not to mention everything else that we've done. So the human body couples with external fields of all kinds. For radio frequency, you can look at the Radio Frequency Dosimetry Handbook, 1986, University of Utah, produced for the Air Force. It gives you the resonant frequencies for each vital organ so that you can send in a radio signal that will couple with the liver, the kidneys, the lungs, and cause them to malfunction so that you can degrade the performance of your adversary. The new weapon systems being developed today will attack the mind, the body, and our physiology on an energetic level. Not with bullets and bombs. It's a perfect Republican weapon. No offense to Republicans here, but you don't want to destroy the property. You're going to have to rebuild it afterwards. This is a weapon systems of the 21st century. It's the very beginning of it in a lot of ways, but the research goes back over 50 years. The first things that we published, Angels Don't Play This Harp, with Gene Manning, dealt with some of this, and then later with Jim Roderick, we took it on a little further, and then ultimately the last book I wrote was Controlling the Human Mind, because I really believe this is fundamentally one of the... So the human body couples with external fields of all kinds. For radio frequency, you can look at the Radio Frequency Dosimetry Handbook, 1986, University of Utah, produced for the Air Force. It gives you the resonant frequencies for each vital organ so that you can send in a radio signal that will couple with the liver, the kidneys, the lungs, and cause them to malfunction so that you can degrade the performance of your adversary. The new weapon systems being developed today will attack the mind, the body, and our physiology on an energetic level. Not with bullets and bombs. It's a perfect Republican weapon. No offense to Republicans here, but you don't want to destroy the property. You're going to have to rebuild it afterwards. This is a weapon systems of the 21st century. It's the very beginning of it in a lot of ways, but the research goes back over 50 years.
To interact with the human nervous system in order to remotely pick up on someone's neural network or EEG, and not only receive that and monitor it, but manipulate it and place it back into the victim to control their emotions or control their actions or bodily functions, for that matter. The other more recent term we have for that is EEG heterodyning or EEG cloning. The difference between EEG heterodyning and EEG cloning would be, let's say, me remotely receiving your EEG and then duplicating it and putting that in another person to give them your same thoughts or feelings or physical reactions. EEG heterodyning would be receiving your EEG, manipulating it to put it back inside your head to give us a desired physical reaction or emotional reaction.
That can pipe voices into an individual's head. And once you can do that, you can control them using neuro-linguistic programming techniques. You're rewiring their thought processes and brains. And so this gets into what's called offensive information warfare. We call it game theory. How do you... They want to see if they can manipulate game theory. How? And then I don't know if I'm going to get into this, but there's something called hyper game theory. How do you? They want to see if they can manipulate people to do things that are irrational, but also walk them to their death. And so you can call it a eugenics program. And they need to sample all cultures, language throughout the world to define their probability matrices of which tricks, techniques, deception works. So how do you control a brain? Most people don't believe that. Well, you can't control me. I have my own free will. There's no way you can get to my soul. Well, sorry, that's not true.
That this person developed delusional disorder. This is a paranoid schizophrenia. But first of all, nobody develops paranoid schizophrenia in the 50s, in their 50s. This is, if you haven't developed it by 30, it's not. Then this technology exists. These nefarious programs exist. And it's hard to imagine for a person that why would you do something like this? But if you think about the new type of warfare,
cognitive warfare.
Exactly, it's a cognitive warfare. You don't have to kill people that you are fighting against. You can just degrade their brain. You can
you alter their minds.
Yeah, alter their minds,
personalities,
and it's like Chinese torture. I mean.
So it's clear that this is what has been. This is what's been happening for a long time, and these people here are trying to paint this false reality. They have this tendency to try to make you think that this is anything but this massive government that's been working on this technology and these programs for decades. I mean, even with me, that's exactly what's happening. So these perps, right, living contract, but those are my, like you say, employers and my neighbors. They start painting this picture as if they're avenging because this and that. You heard the horrible things they involved in, the atrocities they're part of. They involved in a program where they do all this type of sexual torture to adults and to children. But because they're opportunists and enjoy what this technology is capable of doing, and the incentives that's provided from this program, they find ways to try to create this. Well, they try to create this facade and really want me to be accepted of that with all this information I have. For me, the way they alter in my mind, they're like, "No, we're just mining." They have no shame. Like when I'm saying no shame, I mean no shame to just be full of shit. No shame in the sense that they have no shame to look stupid. But because it's clear that this technology has been created to alter the mind since the 60s. It's clear that the end goal is the ability to manipulate a human being, to control the mind, thoughts processes. It's like manipulate stimulations. It's clear. And they are doing that, and it's clear. And it's funny that for me, some of the ways they try to make me acceptive is like the way they interact with me via this V2K, the way they pipe in the voices this man was talking about. You hear them try to have this tonality. No, they are. This still you were mining. I'm like, wow. I mean, are you supposed to agitate me, or truly you think that this is gonna make me acceptive? And then I think some of them really think that these ways of talking to me will make me be acceptive of it. Like, oh, you know what? These individuals, these perps are talking to me in this tonality. So you know what? With them, it's different. They are mining. They are not manipulating my brain to experience that. It makes sense. Listen, the way they just try to present themselves as something else is being done to others. Listen to what they do. According to these men, how other target individuals have, they've created this facade to the point where other target individuals, were thinking that this was something else by this massive government. Listen to this.
To rebuild it. So this say we're the Russian government, we're the Chinese government, we're evil aliens, we're Satan's, satanic ritual abuse. And I've heard all these stories. One guy believed it was some 14-year-old kid with an Xbox that lived next door. The trickery really is that great when you're under hypnosis that people will believe something other than a massive government could do this. And
So they do this same trickeries, the same deceptive tactics of trying to confuse, disorient the target visual, because it's clear that what's happening to us target visual is this: we're being utilized for this 21st century weapon system that can attack your mind and your body. When it comes to the physical torture, is that you physiologically being targeted. For example, me, my organs are being destroyed. I'm having issues with my digestive system and my liver and my pancreas, and there's things they've done to me, which is for me. They tell me they poison me, but they don't really need to poison me. I think that is part of the theatrics of torture. They want to kind of confuse. They like to confuse target visual. A lot of the horrible things they do to us, target visual, they don't need poison. They don't need the technology. They can perform all kind of like internal surgery remotely. When I mean they can manipulate the organs using these energy weapons. Now I'm not saying they're not poisoning and all that. I know they do. They want to live off this theatrical reality where that's what they can just do all these harmful things to me using this technology, but definitely not a need. They can do all these horrible things to me, and they've done, for example, my knees. They didn't poison my knees, but my knee is just very, very fragile. My bones, very, very fragile. My ears, every once in a while, they just like you just turn off the volume. All these things that they clearly doing to me, that there's no like poison or something, or don't even no physical harm has been done to me, but just these energy weapons can do that to me. And they really try to paint this false reality of like, now we're this group of this and that, it's a man we invested. These people are just using human subject as test subject. It's like an open lab where we're just guinea pigs, and they do all these things to us. So the psychological part is that's where they try to play. They are the most gimmicky with that. I was like, now we mapped it, we mined it, because what they do is like they alter this the brain in this disgusting pedophilia. It's a weapon. They're using this technology as a weapon. When this meant to attack the mind, he meant make the mind experience things that is just offensive, degrading. So they'll force you to have this nasty reaction that you're going to hear that they've done to others. And then you have these perps who are contracted to play this game. No shame. Oh no, and they deflect, right? It's gaslighting. They utilize gaslighting also. So they make you experience this nastiness, this reaction, this stimulation, this thought process. You put things together and they want you to be disoriented, so start gaslighting you. What is gaslighting is to try to make somebody accept a false reality, right? You realize they're gaslighting you, they deflect, they start talking about, oh, you're gonna be poor, you're gonna be. They have this systematic tactics that is so consistent. It's always the same thing. Gaslighting, you're not subscribed to it. When you put things together, they start deflecting. Oh, you're gonna be tortured in this way, in this fashion. They're not just letting you that. They're not letting you know that just because they are concerned about you. They just don't want you to start thinking in a clear way. So they want you to focus on something horrible, because this is the kind of things they do.
It is dramatic. It's somebody trying to end my life. It's somebody trying to end who I am as a person. It's somebody trying to take over my mind, putting thoughts of pedophilia. This disgusting things. You saw where I was going with that first word. Disgusting things that I don't even want to talk about because it makes me sick. I don't even like those words in my mind. But it is what it is. So I have no choice now but to acknowledge that there are people in my surroundings or whatever they're doing. I don't know how they do it. I don't care. I don't know if it's through weapons. I don't know.
This is a common breakdown tactic of belief systems and the human will. In no-touch torture, the techniques are more psychologically specialized for each target. Most common examples include homosexual targets that are forced with voices that are derogatory to their lifestyle and similar mental images. Almost all targets are forced to view child pornography in their minds, and vice versa.
It's what is referred to as malodorance. This is the alteration of the smell sensation so that I am often made to smell various things, including smoke, burning, dirty diaper, or baby powder, which they sometimes combine with the pedophilia type of torture, including the threat of planted dreams and form of torture. I also often see highly disturbing pornographic images and videos, including highly disturbing pedophilia type of images and videos when I close my eyes.
Able to impose any information on the brain of a person, presumably by some kind of waves, which in the mind take the form of voices, thoughts and images and imagination. In addition to this kind of implanting information that they need, they manipulate the psyche so that the information is written into your memory. Then by stimulating the certain regions in the brain they can retrieve this information and present it as your own memory. This is the conclusion that can be made judging by the influence they have been making on me with their psychotronic weapons, for example artificial thoughts, imagination, and mental torture.
This technology can be used to sexually manipulate the target. It can make the target feel sexual arousal.
To see that I've taken, and all you are going to hear is aggravation, for every single second of my privacy that you have taken away. From me and my family. Ben said this: the slaves began a program of perversion. First was with my dog. I am very playful with my pet, and suddenly one day that I was petting him I felt strange, in the sense of the word. I thought, this is strange, and then afterwards that strange sensation continued. Then in that moment I realized that was impost, so I thought, look at this losers, don't know how to put me down, and they are doing this. So I told them that I know what you are trying to do, and I started laughing, and then I said again out loud, you'll never take my will, ass. So just to show them that I meant what I said, I kept playing with my dog, and even though that attacks continue, I don't let them get me. Today, they continue with the programming of perversion, but this time they are aiming in the use of people, better said young people, also children and homosexuals.
So yeah, this is something I always bring up because they want you to identify with this thought process. You know, like now we mined it, we mapped it. Now, and going back to me as a kid, it's like now it's your inner child. Remember what you did as a kid. Like first of all, what I did as a kid, something that will never be what you wish. But I'm not a child, and I will never identify with this retardation of logic, especially when I know that this is a tactic that's utilized on other target individual. They do this pedophilia type of torture it is a common thing they do to target individual to attack the mind in this fashion. Literally, when the first petition I signed called that as a symptom of the V2K, the voice to skull, saying that it's a V2K symptom of remote pedophilia. Like they were calling that, and immediately I was like, okay, well that's so this is not just happening. They're not just doing that to me to break me down. This is actually something they do systematically. They do these tactics that are just systematically supposed to break you down, and it's just nasty. But yeah, you just gotta understand that they do things in very very systematic ways of breaking you down. And V2K, I think, as this woman Mariana calls it out, this is what V2K is.
V2K, or voice to skull. This involves the projection of voices, noises, and music directly into my mind to communicate with me in real time and at the speed of thought. And it also includes the manipulation of thoughts, emotions, and perceptions in the person's mind. Additionally, the targeting is all highly perverted and sexual, as well as just.
So they have these ways of forcing us to think, to break us down. But the most disgusting part is this trash, like how it's like, no, actually these governmental entities, the Department of Defense, right, have had issues that are so concerning and just bigger than what I thought. I initially found out that there was like issue with pedophilia in a sense that there was like a lot of intelligence community agents and contractors that would be caught with like child porn on the computers and things like that. But I didn't know it was as big as it was. In 2022, this article comes out just calling out this concerning issue, right? Where they keep catching this like CIA contractors and agents with child porn on the computers. BuzzFeed came out with this article. Like for example, they will find like some CIA agent would leave his computer somewhere unattended, right? And they would go into the computer and see child porn, and nothing will happen to that person. This is on BuzzFeed article, right? And he would just come up with an excuse like, "Oh, I just left it somewhere, and this happened," and nothing happened. Nothing will happen to this. So they came up with this article in 2022 that calls out this issue on BuzzFeed, not just like a conspiracy theory magazine or newspaper. No, 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 no. It's BuzzFeed as mainstream as it gets. Listen to this.
On agency viewed up to 1,400. He was simply
Synthetic telepathy. They're following the handbook perfectly.
2-year-old and a 6-year-old. He was simply fired. One employee purchased sexually explicit videos of young girls filmed by their mothers. He resigned. One employee estimated that he had viewed up to 1,400 sexually abusive images of children while on agency assignments. Not sure what actions, if any, were taken by him. One contractor arranged for sex with an undercover FBI agent. I think that you mentioned that. Posing as a child, he had his contract revoked. One CIA staffer was charged with child sexual crimes, and the employee was also under investigation for mishandling classified material. But sexual crimes involving children, says BuzzFeed, including the viewing of images of abuse, have been uncovered at other agencies that handle sensitive information. In a November 2009 report, the Department of Defense acknowledged that dozens of Pentagon staff members or contractors had such images. In 2014, the Inspector General of the Intelligence Community found that 2 officials from the National Reconnaissance Office, which oversees America's spy satellites, acknowledged viewing images of child sexual abuse during polygraph examinations. This is so disturbing. At a symposium in 2016, Daniel Payne, a top Pentagon security official, said that when workers' computers were examined, the amount of child porn I see is just unbelievable. Is this something that is happening in the general evil?
Ali, we're told, and when I was put through recruitment into the intel community, you're put through polygraphs, you're put through a rigorous selection process. Why aren't these people weeded out? Why are so many pedophiles allowed to be given top-level security clearance? Remember, these aren't just people walking in off the street and saying, hey, can I get hired? Can I get a job? You're put through an extremely rigorous background check screening process. It's called an SSBI, single scope background investigation. There are people, they interview you, they interview your family, they interview your contacts, they go through your online footprint, they go through everything. So why is it that when they're going through these footprints, they're not checking, these digital footprints, they're not checking for so many pedophiles getting through their ranks? If it were up to me, you need to go into Congress, and Congress needs to launch a brand new church committee, number one, to talk about domestic surveillance operations, but number two, to ask the question, why are there so many pedophiles sitting behind?
So this is what this article was calling out. I thought maybe it was not as big as what this BuzzFeed article was talking about. Maybe maybe they were overdoing it with the numbers here. Maybe it's not like this few pedophiles in this. It's not like an issue. Like it's an issue, but it's not like a big issue in the sense that there's not a lot of that kind of incidents, right? I was completely wrong. It's so bad that in 2018 there was a ranking based on child porn being downloaded and where it was coming from. The Department of Defense network was ranked as top tier for some of the most child porn being trafficked and accessed using DoD computer network, and using DoD network. They had to pass a bill in 2019. Well, they didn't even. They introduced a bill in 2019 to do something about that, because it looks stupid, it looks disgusting, it looks disgraceful to find out that the most powerful entity in the world, the Department of Defense, is nothing that is close or near to the Department of Defense in the world. There's nothing close to it. The budgeting, the resources, the finances, there's nothing that is even close to the Department of Defense. The most powerful entity in the world by far is having with employees there using their network, the computer network, to download the most child porn. Some of the most child porn in the United States. We talk about the Department of Defense. We talk about some of the most restrictive information in the world. Like, we talk about top secret net. Like, the DoD. We're talking about DARPA. We talk about all these Pentagon agencies that have so much this level of sensitive information they have on their system, and people will still use this computer system to download child porn. It must be just they just don't care. Most likely, these entities only care about those information, the sensitive information, be linked. This is the problem, or the issues they really care about. The child porn, they're probably like, oh, whatever, do whatever you want to. They don't care about that. I mean, they probably don't care if these employees are pedophiles or not, as long as they're not spy, as long as they're not people who will steal information and share it to other governmental entities. Probably that's what they focus on. But child porn, pedophilia, oh no, it's okay, do your thing. But they were doing so much of it that it became a problem. Listen to this.
Has come under investigation for links to the proliferation of graphic material called Project Flickr. Some 5,000 individuals have been identified as having subscriptions to child porn sites, including many DoD affiliated persons. So this ongoing national investigation has now prompted the House to introduce a bipartisan bill that would help the DoD stop the use of its network to, quote, possess, procure, or produce child pornography. Joining us to discuss this, investigative journalist Ben Swan. So Ben, the Pentagon already takes measures to limit worker access to stuff like porn by rolling out what they call the Personal Electronic Device PED policy, where workers have to drop off their phones and lockers before entering their offices. All their online searches are accessible by security if or when needed. Their Wi-Fi access is monitored in digital security sweeps. So how is this happening?
Well, it's happening because even though there is a certain amount of limitation on access, those who are working in the Department of Defense, clearly it appears to be thousands of individuals in the Department of Defense, are finding ways around this, specifically by using the Department of Defense IP addresses and also apparently peer-to-peer sharing within the department's network. So this study that was done on this issue, and it is pretty horrifying, Manila, to consider this. It shows that the Department of Defense ranked 19th out of almost 3,000 networks in terms of peer-to-peer sharing of child pornography. That is absolutely incredible. This bill attempts to essentially say, look, we're not doing enough to stop it from coming in, but we're also not doing enough in the Department of Defense to go after those individuals who are being recognized as the ones who are perpetrating this.
So Congresswoman Abigail Spanberger is the co-author to this bill. She said this, quote, the notion that the Department of Defense's network and Pentagon-issued computers may be used to view, create, or circulate such horrifying images is a shameful disgrace and one we must fight head-on. Now, the fact that the Pentagon workers, be they civil or military or otherwise, already submit to a gauntlet of daily scrutiny just going in and out of work, is it fair then to the tens of thousands who are completely innocent to further allow that much more government intrusion into their digital devices or the things that they're dealing with on their computers?
Well, remember that what's being talked about here is not an intrusion into someone's personal device or even their home. This is about saying Department of Defense computers are being misused to share, to spread, to access child pornography. And when you step into an office, whether it's a Department of Defense office or it's the offices at RT America, wherever you go into an office, you do not have the right to simply use the technology within that office space however you want. And you certainly don't have.
So you hear this issue, right? And so you have these perps with this humiliating reality that they're working for well, they're not working. These governmental entities that if empower them to feel so special, to partake in programs that are so, how can I even say, almost science fiction in the sense of what the technology within this program are capable of doing, the resources of these programs are capable of utilizing, that they have to just to sell their soul to entities with this kind of disgusting issues while doing this pedophilia type of torture, literally forcing men and women to have this nasty reaction, stimulation, sensation toward children, while these people have these kind of issues, and then try to make me feel guilty and try to create their fantasy of reality. Talk about me at this club, or talk about me in middle school, while you heard them torture children sexually, molesting them, harming them, burning them, women. I didn't even bring the other testimonials of what they do to the 3-week-old babies. Oh, but with me, by the way, the psyops are great. Like they utilize psyops great because we talk about also the intelligence community involved in this program. So they love to disorient a target individual. They want you to be acceptive of this false reality that they put together in order to counter reality and to block and hide the reality of what this is. We are just test subject. We are guinea pigs. They're using this 21st century new weapon system on us for the purpose of developing this technology, improving on it. Very already sophisticated, but adding to it. And the reason it got this sophisticated is because they kept using human subjects to improve on it. It got this good because they kept utilizing human beings, human subjects, men, women, and children, all races, all culture, and improve not only the technology but the tactics of deceptions, and this is how it's getting this good. And they're coming up with this fantasy of what this is about. You think this, they are here burning genitals of women. You heard that. And they talk about you at the nightclub when you're like 18 and 22. While these women here talk about begging for help because they're being tortured, inclusive of sexual torture every day. Children. You heard the four, when I see 4, they like to play this game. Or 44 is like you pay for it as a kid. You heard a 4-year-old being sexually tortured with Down syndrome. They have Down syndrome, 4 years old, tortured. 3-year-old tortured. 5-year-old Down syndrome, tortured sexually. Babies, 3-week-old, tortured. I will never let this trash leave their fantasy. And when it comes to just the gender of like, okay, because I'm looking at this like this, I'm this person, I look like, it doesn't matter. It's part of the psyop, male, female, bi, whatever gender that exists. It doesn't matter because this is a program ran by governmental entities. And if you wanna, be technical, this target individual who've called out the fact there's a lot of females involved in that, but there's a lot of females, a lot of males, and there's whatever other gender that may exist. Listen to this.
But I was going to be shot in the face, and it was an older guy. He was like really, really disgruntled and pissed off. Yeah, you're going to be shot in the face. Sound like an angry ass old person. Then a couple of days later, a female said the same thing. Don't get shot in the face. Stupid shit like that. But what I really noticed is with the voices go, it's a bunch of females. And I'm like, bro, really? You're not a woman. What real woman would stalk another female or sit back and allow that to go on? You really think they think it's nothing wrong with them? Basically, they call me retarded bitch and all of this here, but I was.
You heard that, right? But there's a lot of females, a lot of males. Like, I mean, perps, which is what we call them, target individuals. Perps are those participants in this program, right? They involve themselves one way or another, and they do what they're tasked to do, right? One way or another, but it's always negative, right? And so for me, when I hear this trash talk about you molest, I'm like, I know who's molesting here, who's burning genital, who's torturing women. If you try to talk about me at this club when I'm 18 to 22, and I bring that age on purpose because this is around the same age the people that are going there who have. They make it sound like I'm this 30 some year old going to this. It's crazy. My young adulthood, very young, maybe just became an adult, just like majority of people there. But they try to paint their stories, their reality, which is falsified. Because the reality of what they do is what they're trying to counter. Listen, I'm not perfect. I've done a lot of dumb things in my life. But I'm talking to people involved in a program where literally sexual torture is applied the way you heard. And they want me to be like, oh, no, no, trash. You only work for governmental entities with pedophilia issues, with child porn and child molesters and all that kind of nastiness over there. You're involved in a program that literally in this program to destroy the target individual, they will harm the child too. You hear what they do to women and their genitals. Never. I will never let this slow life do what they do what they've been doing to others, and let them escape into that fantasy. That's why on 2020, I myself partake in this awareness video, which was TID Awareness 2020. And you hear me say this.
And I am a victim of organized stalking, electronic harassment, microwave torture, B2K abuse, and I'm asking you to help us end this crime against humanity, which has impacted men, women, children all around the world.
Hi, I'm Wan from Malaysia. My family are targeted individuals. We are victims of cyber torture. And I will not give up. I will fight to the end.
And I'm a victim of organized
We need this to stop.
electronic harassment. And I'm speaking to you on International Targeted Individual Day. I live in the US, in Illinois, and I'm a victim of organized
We need this to stop.
electronic harassment, microwave torture.
I've been targeted for 9 years.
24/7.
Please become more aware of this crime and those that the crime is being committed against. We need your support and help in ending this crime.
Hello, my name is Wendy Brown. I'm a targeted individual who is living in New Zealand, but my targeting began in California. I'm an American citizen, and the targeting continues in New Zealand. I'm making this video in remembrance of Targeted Individual Day, our third annual Targeted Individual Day. And I'm asking that every honest-hearted human being open their eyes to a crime.
My name is Jeanette. I am 56 years old and I live in Baltimore, Maryland. I am a victim of covert electronic harassment and torture. I am a targeted individual.
Wishes to hand down.
Why? Because it hurts. I need help. I need you guys to come get me. It's brutally painful. I have a house, 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, first floor, second floor, 2 garage, backyard, land, everything. Can't live in my house. My neighbors are shooting direct energy weapons through my house. I hold my heart like this. You know why? Because it hurts. I need help. I need you guys to come get me. Come get me. Oh, Lord, because I think I'm dying.
So this is what they're involved in. And you understand this is why they're willing to try to deflect from the fact that they're involved in a program that does this, and try to make you paint you as this threat to not only women but children. Well, they're involved in what you just heard. Can you imagine trying to make somebody feel you're involved in what you just heard and talk about, no, but I remember when you were at the nightclub at this time of your life and your at that age of your it, as when you were somewhere here. Listen to this. Imagine. Well, you just heard the horrible things they go through, and this is nothing new. This woman says everybody around you create these narratives and storylines and try to vilify you. Listen to this poor woman.
Pinpoint one person, it's everybody, it's all the time, and so it discredits your character and your state of mind, which, starts to make everybody believe something's wrong with you, and then you start believing something's wrong with you. But it's not you, and you know that it's not you. It's just hard to prove. But don't go get, mental health help. Don't see a psychologist or a psychiatrist. Most of the time, they're involved too. Your police are involved, your firemen, ambulance, people at hospitals, they're all involved. And it's unfortunate that we live in a society that gets a kick out of doing people like that. But it is what it is. The only thing you can do is stay strong and focus on the people you love. I was lucky enough to have my mother, who was going through the same thing that I was going through. They started saying all kind of crazy stuff to her at her jobs. And
So you hear this. This is what they do. And it's just foul. And you have these clowns try to create reality in this different fashion while being involved in what they do here. It's insane, the horrible torture of these women. Please listen to this.
I also experienced what is referred to as mellow. Anything electronic. They have even locked me out of my office building that uses an electronic key. It is often very difficult and an immense battle just to even sit on the toilet to go to the bathroom. Not only because of the bowel and bladder manipulation, but also because of the frequent severe sexual assaults on the genitals, my butt and anus, shaking, vibrating, and rocking my body back and forth, and forced eyeball movements, and phantom touch sensations doing rubbing sensations, etc.
Yep, this is what these people are involved in. Target individuals see this low life what they are. These trash are the child molesters, the torturers of women, the destroying of life, of some of the most innocent and vulnerable human beings. But this is obviously a purpose behind it. This is a purpose of developing a weapon system that can attack the mind and the body using energy weapons. What I'm going to experience with regard to how they're going to torture me is going to be a theatrical too. Because right now they're doing things to my body. They are so theatrical in how they're going to torture me. They are telling me how I'm going to be raped, right? And I'm going to have HIV because I'm going to be raped by somebody who has HIV. Now, right now, I don't have HIV, but I'm sick. I can feel my body wasting away. I'm dying already. But this trash want to create such a fantasy of reality that they say, no, you're gonna have HIV. I'm like, right now I'm dying. Right now my organs are just failing. I'm wasting away. You want to create such a theatric of a reality that somebody's already dying. Like, no, but you're gonna. It's like, what does it matter at this point? This is the kind of things you say to somebody who's healthy, not somebody who's dying. If I was a healthy person and then they say you're gonna have it, I was like, what? No, but I'm dying right now. What does it matter if I? But they want to create a theatric of torture at this point to make it seem like they're not what you just heard or what they're part of. Or no, that's their rage. Well, all the rage that you have now, huh? Is it the rage that you've been exposed to be involved in the program that does these horrible things to the most vulnerable? That is clear. This you guys are a bunch of trash for partaking in this by opportunists at the same time. And I understand why you want to partake in this, because this technology that we're talking about, a technology that can alter human brains in ways that just surreal. Basically, giving you this empowerment feeling that gives you almost a godlike feeling. Altering a human being. Like you heard this man say, controlling human beings. They truly can do that. You see these pathetic losers with this extra like confidence, because they're just like, they know that whatever I'm going to experience is going to be experienced regardless. There's nothing I can do about it. I'm helpless in that sense. That's because these governmental entities are doing that to me. That's it. I'm done. But these losers don't even know how to control their own life. Can be as emotionally unstable as possible. Can tomorrow crack down and break down for just nothing. But with you, the confidence that you, it's a real confidence. And to understand why they become like they want to live that fantasy. They want to enjoy this to the max. And I'm here putting the things they want to block out in their faces every day. So I'm asking God to give me strength for what I'm going to deal with, because this is provoking to them. So to all my target individuals, stay strong and see this whole life for what they are.